Instead of signing Emmanuel Mosley, the Niners signed Sam Darnold to a 1-year, $4.5 million contract with $3.5 million guaranteed. For a third-string quarterback, it's a lot, but for him, I think it's a steal. He's 25. He was a third pick in the draft a few years ago. He's never played on a team like this. What do you think?
I love it.
Yeah.
I actually love it. Do you?
Yeah, I love it. I think it's a freaking steal. Yes, I think it's a really good move.
At the get-go, I want to point out, he was the third pick in the draft, and so was Trey Lance.
Yes,
So
interesting parallel.
Symmetry.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't work out with Trey Lance, they can say, yeah, we lost, but we got this other third pick. So,
yeah,
okay.
That's true.
What I'd like you to do is give us a little rundown on Darnold's career, because it didn't start well, what he does well and what he does not do well.
Okay. When Darnold came out of USC, people actually compared him to Andrew Luck. They're like, he's pretty big. He can move. He can scramble a little bit. He can throw on the run. He can throw from all different arm slots. He's got a strong arm. He threw a lot of picks in college, but he kind of was forcing stuff. He had some bad habits, but people liked it. He was the third pick in the draft. People felt he was like could kind of do a little bit of everything. Got drafted by the Jets, which is like a graveyard for quarterbacks. Played on terrible teams, threw a lot of interceptions, got benched, lost his confidence, big time. Started seeing ghosts in the pocket, even said so. Got replaced. Robert Saleh became the head coach of the Jets. First thing they did was trade him to the Panthers and draft Zach Wilson, which hasn't worked out. Went to the Panthers, had a bad year, got replaced by Baker Mayfield. Came in last year at the last 6 weeks when Steve Wilkes was an interim coach in Carolina. That team was gutted. McCaffrey was gone. He went 4-2 last year, Darnold, on a terrible team. So now Wilkes is here, McCaffrey's here. They know him. Maybe they said, hey, he's pretty good. And now he's here. And he's finally in a position where on every single team in the NFL he's ever been on, he's had to be like the hub of the offense. Go make something happen on a team that sucks, Sam. And he hasn't been good at that. But here it's the opposite. It's like, dude, you're so not the focal point of this offense. Just do what Brock Purdy did and get the ball out to the playmakers and don't do too much. If the Niners can get him to buy into that, and it could work.
In the 6 games he played for Carolina last season after they dumped Mayfield, he not only went 4-2, he threw 7 touchdowns, only 3 interceptions. Now, it's not a lot of touchdowns, but it's a good ratio. And his passer rating was 92.
And I'm encouraged by the interceptions. It's like that's something he needed to fix, and It seems like he is. So that's good. And again, it's like, hey, you don't have to make a play. Don't make a play. Check it down to Christian McCaffrey. Throw it to the open man. You got George, all these guys. It just might work. If Brock Purdy could have success here, maybe Sam Darnold could too. And this is someone who could really push Trey Lance this offseason in practices.
Okay, here's the big question.
Yeah.
How does he fit in?
That's a good
question.
question.
How does it work?
Well, here's the first thing that went through my mind. He's a lot like Brock Purdy. He fits the Brock Purdy offense. I could see Brock Purdy being the starter and Sam Darnold being the backup. Like, again, because we were saying, Marcus Mariota would be great. He would fit Trey Lance, what Trey Lance does. They're not going that direction. They're going Brock Purdy direction, which opens up a bunch of questions.
Let's hear some questions.
Well, where does Trey Lance fit in here? If
right.
Brock's the starter and Sam Darnold is like a perfect, cheap backup, then what is Trey doing here? Like, are they going to eventually trade Trey? Because they could get something for Trey. I mean, they need other positions. They don't have cap space.
Right. They could get rid of Trey, and they could say, we still have the number 3 guy in the draft.
We got Brock Purdy.
We didn't lose anything by giving all those picks for Trey Lance because we still got a 3rd guy in the draft.
And we got something back for Trey Lance.
Right.
Traded him for something?
Yeah. Do you feel Trey Lance is vulnerable to being traded?
Yes.
Wow.
I do. Because this makes me feel like they think Brock Purdy's coming back and they're going to have a Brock Purdy offense this year and they have a backup who can do all the Brock Purdy stuff. And, if Trey Lance, I don't know, maybe if they have Trey Lance for practice and he blows them away, they reconsider, but they could trade him on draft night before these practices happen.
Okay.
Depending on what they get, I mean, it seems like now that you have Sam Darnold, you can at least listen to offers if there are any. See what you get.
Listen to-
If it's a
yeah.
third round pick, forget it. If it's a first round pick, wait a second. Let's talk about it.
So it's clear. Let's assume that Brock Purdy's okay, and the surgery went well. Let's assume he's going to be Brock Purdy, although it's an assumption. It's not a certainty, but let's assume. What is the pecking order of the quarterbacks? It's clearly Brock Purdy is the starter, no question.
Yes.
What is the pecking order?
Well, let's take it day one of OTAs if they're all there. Brock's rehabbing. Trey's been in the offense for 3 years. He's the first string guy. Sam Darnold's new. He's learning. He's a second string guy. That's how it starts. But, there's a whole offseason. If Trey's struggling and he hasn't shown any improvement from year 1 to year 2 to year 3, and Sam Darnold seems to improve as he picks it up, it'll change. It'll become a quarterback competition. They could trade Trey Lance before the season starts. I mean, that's how it could go. But Trey will get the first crack at it.
Yes,
He's got to show. Basically, I think they're a little scared. They look at Jalen Hurts and they're like, man, Trey technically could do that too. We don't know. So if he doesn't, then they may say, you know what, it's never going to happen for Trey. It's year 3. We can't keep waiting for this. Just like they couldn't keep waiting for Kinlaw. Sorry, we're going to let you go somewhere else where you can actually get on the field, and we're going to move forward with these 2 quarterbacks. It could happen because they keep saying, well, he's got to play. He's on your team. You can make that happen if you wanted to. But they keep saying it's like they can't. All right, well, fine.
Okay, next question. It's OTAs and minicamp. Brock Purdy is not a factor because he's rehabbing. Can you tell in OTAs and minicamp whether or not Trey Lance has made progress?
I would say so, absolutely. Because there's a thing with Trey Lance. I mean, there's a mechanical thing that we talked about last year with the front leg. I mean, I can see that immediately. I can videotape him on slow motion. Find that on the first day. Has he fixed his mechanics? Is he throwing with more accuracy? That's one. And then 2, another thing with him, I think, is just overall confidence. He hasn't played that much football, and he doesn't carry himself with a supreme confidence like, some of the best quarterbacks do. And I want to, like Brock Purdy does. Brock Purdy just struts around the field, doesn't he?
No
He
question.
freaking struts around the field like he owns it. Trey does not. And I'd like to see him actually develop that kind of confidence because Sam Darnold might step on this field and look at who he's playing with and feel that way. I mean, this guy has pedigree too. He's played a lot of football, unlike Trey. So that's going to be interesting.
And he was the quarterback at USC as opposed to where Trey was.
Exactly. So, I mean, with Trey, he hasn't done anything to get where he is in life. And I'm not saying he doesn't deserve to be here, but he still needs to prove to himself that he belongs. Right?
You know what he's like when he comes on the field, Trey? Yeah. It's like you got invited to a party, but you don't think you belong at the party, and you walk in very quietly and you hang up your coat, but you hang in the corner, right? Because you don't know anybody and they don't really care about you. He's like almost the uninvited guest.
I totally agree. He's trying to socialize, but he's really just sort of hanging out on the wall, and he doesn't know anyone. And they're like, "What's your name? Oh, yeah, what's your name again? Hey, I'm Trey. Oh, right, Trey. Right. You're so and so's friend. Hey, it's good to see you. Hey, man, why don't you go meet my friend over there? Hey, here's a pretzel." Kinda, it's true. They've always treated him that way. This team. So interesting. The Sam Darnold thing, it could be looked at as competition for Trey, and it might be a tough one just because, again, it's another number 3 pick with pedigree who actually has played a lot in the NFL, unlike Trey.
I have another question. They only gave Darnold a 1-year deal.
Right.
That doesn't seem like supreme confidence. Why only a 1-year deal?
Well, I mean, he's got no leverage. His career is hanging on by a thread. He was a backup last year. No one seems to want him. So it seems like the best he can do. Hey, man, we'll give you $3.5 million guaranteed. You might be inactive the whole season, but you might get on the field with us too. What do you say? And he's like, probably the best bet for my career is to just hope I get on the field and have a Brock Purdy experience. Okay, he might.
I got it.
I mean, he could be starting playoff games for the 49ers next year, Dad. I mean, isn't that their pattern?
Yeah. I mean, if they have Purdy,
if you were his agent, wouldn't you think this is a good opportunity for him?
Yes, and I would also think, and also we are very critical of Kyle Shanahan with good reason sometimes, but it's good to be the quarterback of the 49ers.
Okay. And he's from out here. He struggled in New York. He struggled in Carolina. He's from Southern California. I think he'll fit in just fine in this locker room.